the channel. I'm back to break down this 7-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. If you feel like I offer you any helpful insights, some good tips, something that you could think could really translate over to your lineups, if you could take 1 second to do that, really does help me out a lot. Goes a long way. Don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, fan favorite segment on the channel. Always looking to give you guys that good call, the bomb play that I'm really liking today outside of course field. We don't allow those to be part of the selections. And then if you are interested in some further content from me, I do offer a premium package that's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups, as well as my power rankings and my cheat sheet, all that good stuff, the Discord chat, and much more. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. As always, we're going to figure out the pitchers that we want to play first. I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts, and the top guy on the slate today is going to be Shohei Ohtani, taking on the Colorado Rockies. Comes in with a 31.1% K overall, 14% swinging strike rate, a 38.7% K rate against righties, and a 25% K rate against lefties. So we do prefer to target him against very right-handed heavy lineups if at all possible. And he is taking on the Colorado Rockies team today that is not exactly the most right-handed heavy. Do have quite a few lefties sprinkled in throughout the lineup, but then again, it is a little bit of a nice blend for him, so it's not like it's extremely left-handed loaded. But overall, Ohtani comes in as a 158 favorite. The Colorado Rockies only have a 3.59 implied run total. I always like targeting the Rockies when they're outside of course field, and they are today. So there's a lot of things that are definitely going on for Ohtani. That lineup is, good stuff. Last time out, 8 Ks, 1 walk. Time before, I can't really see because it doesn't really show on the game log. But I can tell you that the only issue he's had all season long and what we've been talking about is really the walk rate. And we're continuing to see his walk rate dip lower and lower. Still not the greatest walk rate in the world. It's upwards of 10% to both sides of the plate, but it's not nearly as bad as what we were seeing at one point. So I definitely think Ohtani's a great play today. We have Luis Garcia taking on the Seattle Mariners. Another great matchup, a 28.5% K overall, 13.6 swinging strike rate, 30.2% K rate against righties, and a 26.6% K rate against lefties. So another guy that does have a higher K percentage against righties. Of course, you want the lineup to be right-handed heavy if at all possible, and the Seattle Mariners only have a 3.81 implied run total. And they do have a nice little blend as well. Mostly lefties for the most part, but overall, we're just really not worried about the Seattle Mariners team either. They're going to strike out a bunch. They really aren't the most loaded lineup in the world. Garcia, maybe not the best pitcher in the world, but we also have a slate where the pitching is really just not the greatest in this one. So, things are going to go downhill pretty quickly for you as far as pitching options, as far as like the elite arms. But these two guys really do make a lot of sense. Garcia's 10K on FanDuel, Ohtani's 11K on FanDuel as far as DraftKings is concerned. These two guys, Luis Garcia's 10.4 and Ohtani's 9.2. So definitely some of the top options on the slate. Nick Pivetta taking on Toronto Blue Jays is just really a lineup that we don't really like to target at all because they're just that good. They have a 5.25 implied run total. While Pivetta is third on the slate in K rate, I just really have a hard time going him, especially with his hard contact usage against right-handed hitting, a 447 slug giving up. He's going to take on a lot of righties today in the Toronto Blue Jays, so that's probably a no for me. Spencer Howard taking on the Washington Nationals, a guy that does have a pretty good K rate across the board, but really struggles against right-handed hitting. And the Nationals do have quite a few of righties that crack the lineup. Alcides Escobar, Trey Turner, Harrison. But with some injuries, there actually are going to be quite a few more lefties in there. So, you got to kind of check it yourself. Sometimes when these injuries pop up, we aren't seeing a guy like a Victor Robles at the bottom of the lineup anymore. So they're going to be more reliant on these lefties, which makes me immediately have a little more interest than I typically would. Still kind of tough to be going to Spencer Howard, honestly. He's not the greatest talent in the world, but for the matchup and everything in the watered-down Washington lineup, I think it could be a sneaker play than it typically would. German Marquez taking on the Los Angeles Angels is a guy that I'm really going to have a lot of interest in. A 24.7% K overall. Swing strike rate's really good. The ground ball, fly ball stuff's good. He has 29.2% K rate against righties and a 21.1% K rate against lefties. Honestly, one of the best talents on the board, and the Angels continue to be a team that with this current lineup are striking out quite a bit. So I think that German Marquez is definitely another great option with some strikeout upside. 10-2 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They have him priced at 8.4, especially on DraftKings. That's a very friendly price tag. I mean, the guy's been really good. He had a bad outing last time out, but 9 Ks, 11 Ks, the 2 times before that with 0 earned runs and 2 earned runs. and that was against San Diego and St. Louis, which sound like they're terrible teams at all. So I actually do think that German Marquez is going to be a great option today. Joe Ross taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Their team that strikes out a lot. He's not going to be the premier option, but he does have a pretty decent K rate overall, to be honest. It's really just his struggles against the left-handed hitting you got to keep an eye out for. And when looking at the Phillies lineup up and down, they do have a lot of righties. I mean, they have Herrera, Didi, and Bryce Harper. That's only 3 lefties in the lineup. Joe Ross maybe could be an interesting option. Problem is, it's in Philadelphia, not the best pitching ballpark to be pitching in. So, I don't really like targeting pitchers in Philadelphia if I don't have to, but you got to realize this is a slate as we're going along here where your pitching might be dictated based upon your stacks. Like, we have a bunch of options that are all pretty decisive as far as, like, it's pretty obvious the top pitching options, in my opinion. As far as, like, a group, but they're pretty tight, if you follow me. So it's like, pick your stacks, pick the pitchers that are going to align with your stacks and feel pretty good about your lineups. That's kind of what my approach would be on this slate. Mike Minor and Michael Pineda, both in good options as far as strikeout rate. Again, we have a Chicago White Sox and Detroit Tigers team, both strike out a bunch. These are probably the last 2 arms that I'll be looking to today. Both have pretty decent K rates across the board. Both can have their weaknesses as far as hard contacts given up. Mike Minor is definitely a lot better against left-handed hitting than Michael Pineda is. But overall, both have decent strikeout stuff. Both taking on lineups that strike out a lot, and both are going to be also included in that group of guys that you might be wanting to look to today. Pineda comes in as a 177 favorite, expected to get the win pretty easily in that one. And then as far as Mike Minor, he's not exactly the highest favorite. Honestly, the White Sox have been a team that have been really good against left-handed hitting or left-handed pitching all year as well, and they are expected to maybe have Eloy Jimenez back. So a little scary going to Minor, but he's definitely valid. It's just he might be one of the more risky options. So with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. I mean, you got Dallas Keuchel that does a great job keeping the ball on the ground, good ground ball pitcher. I just don't know if he's the highest strikeout upside against the Kansas City Royals team. If you want to go there, he might be the last one I would talk about. Maybe Wade Miley taking on the Chicago Cubs, who have a high strikeout rate as well. He would actually make quite a bit of sense to me on this slate, too. So let's go ahead and transition over to bats. Short my sheet by Sierra, worst to best as always. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst on the slate is going to be Darren McConaughey. I'm sorry, butchered that name, but we're just going to go with McCann. And he is taking on the Houston Astros, their team that really does strike out a lot. We only have about a 5-inning pitch sample size with him, so we're not really dealing with the largest sample size. And as far as his ability and stuff, I really don't know the leash that he's going to have because he is more of a relief guy. Looking at his pitch count last time, he had 61 pitches. Maybe he gets that up a little bit more, but regardless, honestly, I just don't think that we're going to be scared about this Seattle Mariners bullpen. I'm not going to be scared of him as a starter, so I think that the Houston Astros stack could definitely be a good stack today. I'm not worried about McCann. And Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Lou Gurriel, Jordan Alvarez, Carlos Correa, Kyle Tucker. This is a very good lineup up and down, and they're definitely going to be ones that we could be targeting today. The only downside is it's in Seattle, which is not the best hitting ballpark, unfortunately. But I definitely think that you could be looking to these Houston Astros bats. I don't think it's a bad spot whatsoever. Matt Manning taking on the Minnesota Twins. This is probably going to be the top spot on the slate. This guy's been absolutely terrible. The Detroit Tigers bullpen is absolutely terrible. He gives up a bunch of hard contact. The ground ball, fly ball stuff is not good. He gives up a 474 slugging to righties, a 407 slugging to lefties. Actually has been a lot better against left-handed hitting than he has against righties, so we do prefer to target the right-handed bats against him. Not that the lefties aren't in play, and it's not like he really scares me all too much, but the righties specifically are going to be the ones that I'm really getting excited about. Josh Donaldson, Miguel Sano, Mitch Garver in the middle of that order, Brent Rooker, Andrelton Simmons, but at the top, of course, there are some really good left-handed bats and guys like Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Trevor Larnach. You're going to have to include in your stacks if you're going with the Minnesota squad because it's 89 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing right to left. I don't think the wind's going to help out, but the 89-degree weather should be pretty good as well. Spencer Howard taking on the Washington Nationals. We already mentioned he gives up a lot of ground ball, fly ball issues. A 438 slugging to righties. He is really good against lefties so far outside of the ground ball, fly ball stuff, but not giving up a lot of hard contact, so I'm really going to look to focus in on these Washington Nationals righties if I'm looking to stack them up. Of course, once again, you got a guy like Juan Soto, Josh Bell in the middle order that you might have to put in your lineup because they're just one of the top 2 bats in the lineup, and of course they can still hit the ball in the ballpark. But as far as splits are concerned, Dre Turner is definitely going to be my favorite option in that 2 spot. You got Alcides Escobar at the top of the order, Josh Harrison can round out your stacks with Parra and Stevenson at the bottom of the order, but definitely having a lot of interest in Trey Turner today, I would say, out of that breakdown, because it's just going to be a great spot for him. Dallas Keuchel taking on the Kansas City Royals. Honestly, he's been giving up quite a bit of slugging, but at the same time, he's just such a good sinker ball thrower that the ball keeps stuck on the ground. And if the Royals are really going to go off in this one, it's probably going to be via some single double action with some small ball mixed in, and not really any high upside DFS home runs. So that's really what I'm looking for. So that's a no for me as far as the Royals. Kyle Hendricks taking on the Cincinnati Reds has been giving up a lot of hard contact to left-handed hitting and a lot of fly balls. Righties, he's been a lot better. Lefties, it's a 5.12 slug, giving up with a 3.68 WOBA, 39.7% fly ball rate. So, I mean, you got to like the Cincinnati Reds lefties today for sure. The righties will be in play, but do prefer the lefties greatly. 83 degrees in Wrigley, 8 mile-an-hour winds blowing in from right center. That's a little less than ideal, of course, but still, Jesse Winker, Tyler Naquin are going to be great options today, and they can mix in Jonathan India. I mean, of course, Joey Votto as well. Didn't mean to skip over him. And then, Suarez, Farmer, Barnhart, Akiyama if you need some salary relief. But really going to like those 3 lefties in the core of this order today as far as against Hendricks if you're looking to target that stack. Michael Pineda taking on the Detroit Tigers. He is a guy that gives up quite a bit of slugging, but unfortunately for the Tigers, their lineup kind of sucks. So not sure you can really go to them. If you are going to them, you really want to target the left-handed hitters for sure. He gives up a 500 slugging with a 48.4% fly ball rate. Definitely has been a lot worse against those lefties. The strikeout rate dips down as well. And this is going to be an intriguing option, actually, because when you think about it, I mean, the Minnesota bullpen's terrible. The Detroit Tigers bullpen's terrible. So, you kind of laugh about stacking up the Tigers, but I would not call you crazy, actually. I mean, I think it's a viable spot to be stacking up these Tigers. You got Akil Baddoo, Jonathan Scope, Robbie Grossman, Miguel Cabrera, Heimer Candelario, Willie Castro, Zach Short. Of course, I like the lefties the best, so Akil Baddoo, Robbie Grossman, Heimer Candelario, Willie Castro really going to stand off the page for me as far as the Tigers are concerned. And could be a sneakier stack that goes low on and unowned. So, as I'm talking along here, the Detroit Tigers stack might be more viable today than it ever is, really. Chicago White Sox, ground ball, fly ball stuff isn't the greatest for Mike Minor, so you could definitely target some right-handed power for them. A 4.53 slugging up, a 3.29 WOBA, 42.3% fly ball rate for Mike Minor, so no issues with you going to the Chicago White Sox right-handed power on this one. Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, if he's back in that lineup, that's going to be a big addition. Jose Abreu, Andrew Vaughn, both have a bunch of power against lefties. Yoan Moncada, unfortunately, isn't the greatest against left-handed pitching, but if they can get him out of the game, he is in the heart of the order. Maybe he gets to take some righties in the bullpen. Adam Engel, great against lefties. Billy Hamilton's been great against lefties this year. Danny Mendick's also been great against lefties, so it's a lineup that's really good against left-handed pitching. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries. They were looking not so good for a while there, and they're starting to get guys back little by little, and that could be a big difference in having interest in stacking up that team today. So keep an eye on the lineup there. Nick Pivetta taking on the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that it seems like we have to say is viable every day because they're just that good, especially when they're taking on a guy with reverse splits issues. 447 slugging up to righties, a 327 WOBA, 43.6% fly ball rate. Blue Jays have been better against right-handed pitching all year long, and they're right-handed heavy, so this is a type of guy that the matchup really does line up pretty well for them. It's in Fenway Park with 82 degrees, 5 mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center. Great hitting weather. George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Randall Grichuk, all going to be great options. You could play Kevin Biggio and Reese McGuire at the bottom of the order, but really do prefer to target these right-handed hitters. I mean, Luis Gurriel included in that against this reverse splitsy pitcher in Pivetta. So got to like those guys today. Thomas Hatch is a guy that's not listed because we don't have any data on him from 2021, but not a guy that scares me. The Toronto Blue Jays bullpen really isn't that good, so the Boston Red Sox stack is definitely going to be a great one today. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to predict, exactly who they're going to be facing off against at all times. But I don't know how long of a leash that Hatch is going to have by looking at this right here. He's been up since July 19th and hasn't been used, and then this will be his debut, and it might be something where he can actually go pretty deep in the game. I don't know. I just anticipate him to not go too deep because that's just the way it goes, and the guy hasn't gotten a lot of work in the majors. Eventually, they're just going to pull him, I think, and regardless, he doesn't scare me. The Toronto Blue Jays bullpen doesn't scare me, so I think this is definitely going to be a spot where you can stack up these Red Sox. And the Red Sox have been pretty hot. Their lineup's so deep now at this point. Hunter Renfroe hitting in the 7th spot's a pretty good lineup on paper, and you got to like the Red Sox stack for sure. Wade Miley taking on the Chicago Cubs, guy that does a pretty good job of keeping the ball on the ground. So for that reason, honestly, I'm really not looking to stack against him. I'm not all too excited today as far as what Vegas is anticipating and everything. For a run total, the Cubs do have a 4.46 implied run total, but I'm still not all that intrigued by it. It's possible they do have some pretty good lefty matchers: Wilson Contreras, Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Patrick Wisdom, Jake Marisnick, David Bodie. Maybe when I dig into the pitch data, I know that Miley's very reliant on the cutter, so if I start seeing that the Cubs really break that cutter really well, that might change my mind a little bit. But still, the ground ball, fly ball stuff's good enough to where that's kind of scary to be going to. And then once we get past them, the last two guys that I really want to talk about targeting, it's pretty simple, would be Joe Ross and Luis Garcia. Both guys very similar in the sense that they struggle against lefties, but Joe Ross specifically is the guy that you're really looking to target with left-handed hitting. Really has been bad across the board. Ground ball, fly ball stuff, hard contact stuff. So I think Bryce Harper's going to be a tremendous play today. Didi Gregorius, Odubel Herrera, all great options taking on Joe Ross today with those issues against the lefties. And then Luis Garcia at the bottom here should be a pretty popular option as far as a pitching option. So if you want to get some leverage, I do think it's viable to be playing some left-handed bats against him. I mean, the Seattle Mariners lineup really isn't good. It's not like he's the worst against lefties in the world, but he's also just, that's his weakness. Definitely could see him giving up some issues here. And J.P. Crawford, Kyle Seager, Cal Riley in the middle of the order, Jared Kelenic, and Jacob Bowers, I think could all be good leverage plays that if you need someone to fit in your lineups and you have the salary with those guys left, you can pop them in your lineups. I don't feel bad about that at all. So with that being said, that is my overall breakdown of this one today. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Josh Donaldson taking on Matt Manning. This is definitely a don't overthink it spot. Matt Manning has been struggling against lefties all season long with a 474 slugging up to right-handed hitting, 42% hard contact rate, a 353 WOBA, only an 11.5% K rate against those righties. Really going to have his hands full with this matchup, but then when you break down his repertoire, really not the greatest stuff in the world. You're looking at about a 93-mile-an-hour fastball that he throws to right-handed hitting approximately 57% of the time. And Josh Donaldson crushes that pitch. A 390 ISO with a 417 WOBA. The secondary pitch that he's really relying on is the slider. He goes with that about 27% of the time. And Donaldson crushes that as well. Off right-handed pitching, a 308 ISO with a 357 WOBA. Love this spot for Josh Donaldson. Don't overthink it here. It's going to be a great spot. He's going deep tonight. Has some potential for 2 home runs against this Matt Manning starter and the Detroit Tigers bullpen. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Josh Donaldson, get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new content when I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.